Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Saira Mujtaba and with me is Aditi Lumba, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring to you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. India formally assumes the presidency of G20 for 1 year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says India's G20 presidency will work to promote a universal sense of oneness. New Delhi says India is independent to conduct military exercise with any country. Reserve Bank of India launches retail central bank digital currency on pilot basis. India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar inaugurates Hornbill Festival at Kisama Heritage Village in Nagaland. World's first intranasal COVID vaccine developed by India gets Central Drug Standard Control Organization's approval. In Afghanistan, at least 19 students killed in a bomb blast in a religious school at Airbag. And now the news in detail. India has formally assumed the presidency of G20 grouping for 1 year. The Group of 20 is a premier forum comprising world's advanced and developing economies as well as the European Union, which meets every year to discuss global issues. Prime Minister Modi said India's G20 agenda will be inclusive, ambitious, action-oriented and decisive. In his op-ed in several newspapers on Thursday, Mr. Modi said that India's G20 presidency will work to promote this universal sense of oneness, and hence India's theme is One Earth, One Family, One Future. The Prime Minister said this is not just a slogan, but it takes into account recent changes in human circumstances, which we have collectively failed to appreciate. India's start of the presidency is marked by several people-centric activities. As many as 100 monuments have been lit up across the country with the G20 logo. Speaking at the University Connect program in New Delhi, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar said that India's G20 presidency is taking place at a very critical moment in international affairs. He highlighted that India must become the voice of the global south, expressing their concerns on fuel, food and fertilizers.
India's example is of increasing relevance to the rest of the world. Whether it is our last mile delivery done using digital platforms, a way of responding to the COVID and other public health challenges, or indeed the transformation in green and clean energy that we have seen in the last few years. There are very good reasons why today the world is taking a much deeper interest in us. The G20 presidency offers an opportunity to share our story with others. And it is also a time when we must become the voice of the global south that is otherwise underrepresented in such forums. Countries of Asia, Africa and Latin America trust India to speak up for them.
The students and leading academicians from 75 universities across the country virtually joined the event. G20's India coordinator Harshvardhan Shringla has said that Indians have a unique opportunity in the presidency of G20 and a profound responsibility to showcase their rich cultural heritage and diversity, tourism potential and development prowess so that the world derives values from interactions. G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant and former Union Minister and Vice Chairman of Gandhi Smriti and Darshan Samiti Vijay Goyal unveiled the display of G20 logo at Mandi House Chowk in New Delhi. Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Kant termed it a historic moment, saying that it is a big responsibility for India as G20 accounts for 85% of global GDP and 2/3 of the world population.
जीडीपी का 85% G20 से आता है, करीब 78% ट्रेड यहाँ से आता है, 2/3 जनसंख्या दुनिया की G20 से। हम इसको एक्शन ओरिएंटेड, इंक्लूसिव, रिफॉर्म ओरिएंटेड और फॉरवर्ड लुकिंग हम इसको करेंगे। जो भी चैलेंजेस हैं दुनिया के आगे, हम उसका सोल्यूशन प्रोवाइड करेंगे और सबके साथ मिलकर कंसेंसस से G20 को आगे ले चलेंगे।
External Affairs Ministry has said that focus will be laid on ensuring citizen participation in the events to be organized during the country's G20 presidency. Briefing media in New Delhi on Thursday, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said On Thursday is a memorable day as India has formally assumed the G20 presidency. He said a key element of country's presidency will be taking G20 closer to public and trying to make it a people's G20. He said citizen engagement and large-scale participation through various Jan Bhagidari events have been planned throughout the year. He said efforts will be made to engage youth and school students in the special G20 sessions. On the Russia participation in G20, Mr. Bagchi said, Russia is a member of the G20 and India would expect from Russia to participate in the processes. He stressed that the grouping needs to speak with one voice on important issues that are affecting the world. He said India will focus on the issues that are affecting the world, including food, fuel and fertilizers. With the assumption of the G20 presidentship by India, Bangladesh also became an invited nation to take part in the meetings, including the summit meeting of G20. Our Dhaka correspondent reports Bangladesh has expressed its gratitude for being included among the invited countries of G20, as several issues of the G20 agenda have an important bearing on Bangladesh. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a news commentary. India takes over G20 presidency.
India has taken over the presidency of G20 from Indonesia on 1st of December 2022. The G20 is the group of world's top 20 industrialized nations, accounting for 85% of the global gross domestic product (GDP). Last month, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had launched the logo of the G20 Summit 2023 to be held in India. He had also launched the website of India's G20 presidency and a mobile application G20 India on both Android and iOS platforms. The G20 logo draws inspiration from the vibrant colors of India's national flag, saffron, white and green, and blue. It juxtaposes planet Earth with the lotus, India's national flower, that reflects growth amid challenges. The Earth reflects India's pro-planet approach to life, one in perfect harmony with nature. Below the G20 logo is Bharat, written in the Devanagari script. The logo draws upon elements contained in various entries received during an open competition for the logo design. The contest, organized by MyGov portal, received an enthusiastic response with over 2,000 submissions. This is in line with Prime Minister's vision of Jan Bhagidari during India's G20 presidency. The theme of India's G20 presidency is One Earth, One Family, One Future. It is based on Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, drawn from the ancient Sanskrit text of the Maha Upanishad. Essentially, the theme affirms the value of all life, human, animal, plant and microorganisms and their interconnectedness on the planet Earth and in the wider universe. The theme also spotlights life, that is lifestyle for environment, with its associated environmentally sustainable and responsible choices both at the level of individual lifestyles as well as national development, leading to globally transformative actions resulting in a cleaner, greener and bluer future. The logo and the themes together convey a powerful message of India's G20 presidency, which is of striving for just and equitable growth for all in the world as we navigate through these turbulent times in a sustainable, holistic, responsible and inclusive manner. They represent a uniquely Indian approach to our G20 presidency of living in harmony with the surrounding ecosystem. For India, the G20 presidency also marks the beginning of Amrit Kal, the 25-year period beginning from the 75th anniversary of its independence on 15th August 2022, leading up to the centenary of its independence towards a futuristic, prosperous, inclusive and developed society distinguished by a human-centric approach at its core. Prime Minister Modi has said that India's G20 presidency comes at a time of crisis and chaos in the world. The world is going through the after effects of a disruptive, once-in-a-century pandemic, conflicts and a lot of economic uncertainty. The symbol of the lotus in the G20 logo is a representation of hope in these times. No matter how adverse the circumstances, the lotus still blooms. Even if the world is in deep crisis, we can still progress and make the world a better place. In Indian culture, both the goddess of knowledge and prosperity are seated on a lotus. This is what the world needs most today, shared knowledge. that would help us to overcome difficult circumstances and shared prosperity that reaches the last person at the last mile. Prime Minister observed that in G20 logo, the earth is placed on a lotus too. The 7 petals of the lotus in the logo are also significant. They represent the 7 continents. 7 is also the number of notes in the universal language of music. In music, when the 7 notes come together, they create perfect harmony. But each note has its own uniqueness. Similarly, G20 aims to bring the world together in harmony while respecting diversity. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said India would like to use its G20 presidency to reflect the interests and concerns of the global south that have been sidelined over the years. He said technology should be given substantial weight in deciding India's geopolitical positioning, as it would play a key role in striking alliances in a multipolar world. Dr. Jaishankar said that the rise of India is deeply linked with the advancement of India's technology, and it has acquired strong political connotation. India has shown how to use technology for providing accessibility of services to the common people. India's free food grain scheme, being provided to 800 million people, direct benefit transfers through the medium of Jan Dhan account, Aadhaar Mobile, JAM Trinity system to 450 million people are case studies in the developed world.
In some more news, India's Union Minister G. Kishan Reddy chaired a review meeting ahead of G20 meetings with senior officers from Dornier, Tourism, Culture and Chief Secretaries and senior officers from all 8 northeastern states on Thursday. In the meeting, Mr. Reddy expressed full readiness of the systems, both at the central and state level, for organizing the events. He desired that the bounties of nature in the northeast must be showcased to the world. The Ministry of Development of Northeast Region said a total of 11 meetings starting from January next year on different themes under G20 are to be held in Northeast regions. It said 1 meeting will be held in each state of Northeast and 4 in Guwahati. The ministry said that 8 out of 20 proposed destinations for the G20 summit are from Northeast India. The G20 Heads of State and Government Summit will take place from 9th to 10th of September next year in Jammu and Kashmir. There will be about 200 meetings under G20, which have been planned in different cities across the country. It will show an enriching experience of India's amazing diversity, inclusive traditions, and cultural richness to guests across the world. On the momentous occasion of India's G20 presidency, the internationally acclaimed sand artist Sudarshan Patnaik from Odisha made a sand art displaying the magnificent G20 logo on Thursday. On the Chandrabhaga beach near the famous Sun Temple in Konark in Odisha, the Konark Temple has also been illuminated on the occasion.
The much-awaited 23rd edition of Hornbill Festival of Nagaland started Thursday evening at Naga Heritage Village, Kisama. Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar and Nagaland Chief Minister Nephew Rio officially opened the 10-day Hornbill Festival by beating the gong. Addressing the gathering, the Vice President said, "The day is a historic development for the country as India assumed the presidency of G20, while Nagaland state is showing its unique culture and greetings to the world."
India is a land of culture. We have our civilization of thousands of years. There is another historic development. On this day, India has assumed the presidency of G20, and you will have the occasion in April to show your unique culture, your warmth and greetings to the world. India is proud of its tribes. India is proud of its tribal culture.
The festival is a tribute to the great hornbill, which is an admired and revered bird for the Naga people, for its qualities of alertness and grandeur. The festival is a cultural extravaganza to revive, protect and preserve the richness and uniqueness of the Naga heritage. India will assume the chairmanship of Wassenaar arrangement on 1st of next month. Briefing media in New Delhi on Thursday, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said, Wassenaar arrangement is a multilateral export control regime wherein member states exchange information on various issues like transfer of conventional arms. India was included to the Wassenaar arrangement on 7 December 2017 as the 42nd member. Its entry into the export control regime would enhance its credentials in the field of non-proliferation despite not being a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty (NPT). Mr. Bagchi said India has also assumed the presidency of the United Nations Security Council on Thursday. He said focus will be made on issues like multilateralism or counter-terrorism.
India also assumes the presidency of the United Nations Security Council today for the month of December. This is the second time during our 2-year tenure that we as an elected member have taken over this presidency. Last time was last year, August 2021. We have a couple of high-level events coming up. We will focus on that, particularly on actions on multilateralism or counter-terrorism and other issues that are of interest to us and the global community.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
Welcome back. External Affairs Ministry has pointed out that India is independent to conduct military exercise with any country. On the query of China raising concern on the Indo-US military exercise, External Affairs Ministry's spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said these exercises going on with US has nothing to do with the 1993 and 1996 agreements. He asked the Chinese side to think about its own breach of these agreements. The External Affairs Ministry has announced that Federal Foreign Affairs Minister of Germany, Annalena Baerbock, will pay an official visit to India on the 5th and 6th of this month. Briefing media in New Delhi on Thursday, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said during her visit she will meet External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on Monday. He said both the leaders will hold a discussion on various bilateral issues.
The tenure of India's ambassador to the US, Taranjeet Singh Sandhu, has been extended for a year till January 31st, 2024. Earlier, he was due to retire in January 2023. Mr. Sandhu, an Indian Foreign Service officer of 1988 batch, has served in Washington, D.C. thrice as the Deputy Chief of the mission between 2013 and 2017 and then as ambassador from early 2020. The Reserve Bank of India, RBI, launched the Retail Digital Rupee on a pilot basis on Thursday. The central bank has identified 8 banks for the phase-wise participation in this trial. The Retail Digital Rupee will be in the form of a digital token that represents legal tender. Our Mumbai correspondent reports the RBI will issue digital currency in the same denominations that paper currency and coins are issued. Retail Digital Rupee transactions can be carried out through a digital wallet on mobile phones and other devices. Only those digital wallets offered by banks participating in the RBI's Digital Rupee program can transact in digital currency. The retail digital currency will be distributed through banks. Transactions in digital currency can be carried out between person to person and person to merchant. Payments to merchants can be made using QR or the quick response codes displayed at merchant locations. The first phase will begin with 4 banks, State Bank of India, ICICI Bank, Yes Bank and IDFC First Bank in 4 cities including Mumbai, New Delhi, Bengaluru and Bhubaneswar, and later extend to Ahmedabad, Gangtok, Guwahati, Hyderabad, Indore, Kochi, Lucknow, Patna and Shimla. 4 other banks, Bank of Baroda, Union Bank of India, HDFC Bank and Kotak Mahindra Bank will join the trial later.
The Government of India has asked FM radio channels not to play songs or broadcast content glorifying alcohol, drugs, weaponry, gangster and gun culture. Information and Broadcasting Ministry said in an advisory that broadcast of such songs or content is in violation of the AIR program code. It said grant of permission agreement, GOPA, provides that the permission holder shall follow the same program and advertisement codes as followed by All India Radio. The advisory stated that any violation shall entail penal action in accordance with the terms and conditions laid down in the GOPA. It said such content affects children of impressionable age and gives rise to the culture of gangsters. A bomb blast hit a religious school in northern Afghanistan, killing at least 19 students and 23 others wounded. The explosion went off at around the time of afternoon prayers at the Al-Jihad Madrasa in Airbak, capital of Samanga province, on Wednesday. Most of the students at the school are young boys. Interior Ministry spokesman Abdul Nafi Thakur said a number of students were wounded in the attack. There was no immediate claim of responsibility, but the Afghan affiliate of the Islamic State group has been waging a campaign of violence that escalated since the Taliban took power in August 2021.
Spain has stepped up security to confront a spat of explosive devices sent to high-profile targets, including the Prime Minister and Ukrainian ambassador in Madrid. Talking to reporters, Spain's Deputy Interior Minister, Rafael Perez, said early indications suggest that all 5 of letter bombs were sent from within the country. He said bomb disposal experts have defused these bombs. The minister said the homemade devices were sent in brown packages containing a flammable powder and tripwire. In a statement, the Interior Ministry said it has ordered police to strengthen security around public buildings and particularly check postal deliveries carefully. In Sri Lanka, the inflation slowed a declining trend in November amid improved supply conditions and tight monetary policy. The consumer price index eased to 61%. The decline comes in the wake of easing of consumer prices. Generous assistance from India has also helped Sri Lanka stay afloat and ease shortages. Meanwhile, the island nation is working to secure International Monetary Fund's consent for a $2.9 billion bailout program.
World's first intranasal COVID vaccine, developed by India, has got approval from the Central Drugs Standard Control Organization for restricted use in emergency situations in the age group of 18 and above. Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh said this while chairing the meeting of the Societies of Autonomous Institutions of Department of Biotechnology in Delhi. The minister informed that the product development and clinical trials were funded by the Department of Biotechnology and Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, BIRAC, under the Mission COVID Suraksha program. The minister said that India's efforts through Mission COVID Suraksha has not only strengthened Atmanirbhar Bharat, but also bolstered India's status as a worldwide vaccine development and manufacturing center. He also informed about the decision to merge the 14 societies of biotechnology institutes into a single society in the interest of convenient functioning, cost effectiveness and integrated working. India's annual rate of HIV infection has declined by 46% between 2010 and 2021 against the global average of 32%. According to the National AIDS Control Organization, NACO, AIDS-related mortalities have also declined by 76% against the global average of 52% during the period. In a video message released during an event on the occasion of World AIDS Day in New Delhi on 1st of December, Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Bharti Praveen Parwar, stressed that people must adopt an inclusive and multi-sectoral attitude to eliminate AIDS. She said that the central government's HIV and AIDS for Establishment Policy 2022 will safeguard the dignity of people infected with and affected by HIV and AIDS in various institutions and organizations. Health and Family Welfare Special Secretary S. Gopal Krishnan and several dignitaries from the World Health Organization and the Joint United Nations Programme on HIV and AIDS were present during the event.
India's Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia has inaugurated the DigiYatra facility at IGI Airport in New Delhi. This facility has been started at 3 airports of the country including Delhi, Bangalore and Varanasi. DigiYatra provides facility of contactless processing of air passengers on the basis of face recognition technology at various checkpoints of airports. The Ministry of Civil Aviation said India has set a new global benchmark for a seamless, hassle-free and health risk-free process at airports with the launch of DigiYatra facility. It said DigiYatra facility is presently being launched for domestic flights passengers. Our correspondent reports that to use this facility, one-time registration on this Yatra app is required using Aadhaar-based validation and a self-image capture. There will be no central storage of personally identifiable information and passenger's ID, and travel credentials will be stored in a secure wallet in the passenger's smartphone itself. Former Chinese President Jiang Zemin has died at the age of 96. According to the state media, Jiang, who was president of China from 1993 to 2003, died from leukemia and multiple organ failure in Shanghai. In a statement, the ruling Communist Party has announced his death on Thursday. He rose to power in the aftermath of Tiananmen Square protests.
The Sensex and the Nifty on Thursday closed at record high. Both indices rose 0.29% amid positive cues from global share markets, extending gains for the 8th session in a row. The BSE Sensex finished above the 63,250 points, while the Nifty settled above the 18,800 level. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex rose 185 points to finish at 63,284. The Nifty also appreciated 54 points to end at 18,812. At the global stock markets, Asian equity markets logged gains. Japan's Nikkei climbed 0.9%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index rose 0.8%, and China's Shanghai Composite Index added 0.5%. South Korea's Kospi added 0.1%, and Singapore's Straits Times ended flat. European shares were up in intraday trade. Global crude oil prices rose around 1%, supported by investor wariness that OPEC Plus may cut supply further in its meeting on Sunday. Easing COVID curbs in China also raised hopes about higher demand in the world's top crude importer. Brent crude was trading at $87.70 per barrel. Back home at the multi-commodity exchange, gold futures for December was trading at 53,025 rupees per 10 grams. Silver futures for December was trading at 63,140 rupees per kilogram when reports last came in. In the forex market, the rupee strengthened 21 paise against the US dollar. The domestic currency closed at 81 rupees and 22 paise against the American currency. Rajesh Lake for World News, All India Radio.
On to sports now. In the FIFA World Cup, Morocco and Croatia have qualified for the round of Group 16 stage. Morocco beat Canada 2-1 at the Al Sumama Stadium in the final group stage game of Group F. Morocco qualified to the round of 16 in the FIFA World Cup after 36 years. In the other Group F, the match between Croatia and Belgium ended in a goalless draw at the Ahmad bin Ali Stadium in Qatar. Morocco finished top of the group with 7 points. Croatia are second with 5 points, while Belgium are third with 4. Canada are fourth, having lost all the 3 matches they played. In the Group E match late tonight, Spain will lock horns with second place Japan in an intriguing 2022 World Cup contest at the Khalifa International Stadium, while Costa Rica face Germany at the Al Bayt Stadium in Al Khor in Qatar.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Washington Post writes China moves to ease zero COVID but tightens vice on protesters. The Guardian writes that France backs plans for tribunal from Russian officials over Ukraine war. Japan Times reports that Kishida cabinet set to approve bill banning use of fear to solicit donations. The Financial Times reports Ghana faces rude awakening as the tide of cheap money recedes. The Balochistan Post says the inflation in Balochistan is rising at an alarming rate, where the consumer goods are getting out of reach of ordinary citizens.
And now a quick look at the headlines once again. India formally assumes the presidency of G20 for 1 year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says India's G20 presidency will work to promote a universal sense of oneness. New Delhi says India is independent to conduct military exercise with any country. Reserve Bank of India launches retail central bank digital currency on pilot basis. India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar inaugurates the Hornbill Festival at Kisama Heritage Village in Nagaland. World's first intranasal COVID vaccine developed by India gets Central Drug Standard Control Organization's approval. In Afghanistan, at least 19 students killed in a bomb blast in a religious school at Aybak. And in FIFA World Cup, Croatia and Morocco qualify for round of Group 16 stage. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Romania on their Independence Day. We end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.